Thom Hartmann here with you. I'll get back to your calls about who was the worst president, George W. Bush or Donald Trump, or Ronald Reagan for that matter, in just a moment. But right now on the line with us is Greg Palast, the investigative journalist, author and filmmaker. The Best Democracy Money Can Buy is his current movie out. It's available all over the place, including Amazon. GregPalast.com is the website, and you can you can tweet him at Greg_Palast, just like Thom_Hartmann. Greg, welcome back to the program. Greg? Greg is talking, but I can't hear him. We got no audio.
Okay, now how's that for you?
There you go. You unmuted your microphone. Thank you, Greg.
All right, Mr. Nunes, stop that.
Yeah, there you go. So the gist of, you and I have been corresponding in email and Twitter and whatnot, and it seems to me that the gist of what you're saying is that if progressives are out there supporting the FBI and Comey and all this kind of stuff, and now we're increasingly learning that had Comey not done his August or October memo, and not publicized that he was reopening the investigation of Clinton because of Weiner, Hillary Clinton would be president right now. It just boils right down to that. That liberals might be kind of walking into a trap of liking people who are actually not all that great. Am I?
I'm very concerned. Okay, that progressives are now we're all cheering things like the FISA court, which Ed Snowden is exposed as one of the worst sides of the surveillance state. And for example, the Nunes memo just raises really disturbing problems, and like Mel Goodman, the great whistleblower from the CIA, also said the same thing. And this is very dangerous when we are applauding the surveillance state. Nunes, by the way, who's kind of a nudnik because he actually does exactly what he accuses the FBI of doing. What he said correctly is that the FBI went to this court, the FISA court, and brought down the entire intelligence apparatus on an American citizen based on this file of sludge called the Steele Dossier, which is complete garbage, salacious nonsense, unverifiable crap. We don't want that happening to our citizens. What Nunes left out is that it wasn't, he said it should have been revealed that it was paid for by Hillary Clinton. No, Hillary paid for it the second time. The first time was by the Republican, vicious Republican named Paul Singer, otherwise known as the Vulture, a guy we've discussed. I'm very familiar. Now, this is one thing that Singer does all the time, is create these files of sludge on his opponents, whether they're politicians. In this case, he was part of the Never Trump movement. But he also created one, there are other Steele files and by other, with different names. And one is on Greg Palast. So I'm very familiar with these files. And there's one certainly on Thom Hartmann. I mean, we're now getting excited about using our surveillance agencies based on these rumors and sludge and garbage without any revelations to the court what their source are. It's dangerous stuff. And I can tell you that was used against me. And so when, say, oh, well, it's used against Trump, it's okay, but it's going to be used against you, my friend. And when they come for you, they're going to say to you, they're going to quote your own defense of the Gestapo light that we call the FISA court and our new surveillance state.
Yeah. That said, though, Greg, it turns out Carter Page, who was the subject of the surveillance, lived in Russia from 2004 to 2007, as I recall. And in 2013, publicly on television, bragged about the fact that he was an advisor to the Kremlin. What in your mind should it take to provoke, surveillance of an American citizen who might be, dancing to the tune of or actually, supportive of a foreign government?
Well, that's a good question. You were, I just looking at the file on you and RTTV. The same group that's coming down on them. For example, if you look at the great intelligence agency's report that said that Trump is a tool of Russia, and he may be, that I don't know. And by the way, I want to tell you that one thing we shouldn't do, despite the fact that the Nunes memo raised really important civil liberties issues, that doesn't mean that the investigation by Mueller of Trump has no merit. They're trying to take something that's very sideways and is actually a legitimate problem that should be addressed. And they're trying to bootstrap into saying, oh, that taints the entire investigation of Trump. It doesn't come close to it.
Yeah.
But let me tell you something from the investigations report of the consensus report of the intelligence agencies. Most of it was about RTTV, and it says I'm reading from their report. It says that it was Russian, that RTTV is messaging Russia's strategic interests because, quote, RT, that's a quote, because RT runs anti-fracking programming, I'm reading from it, highlighting environmental issues and the impacts on public health of fracking. And so if you're against fracking, you are messaging Russia's strategic messages. You're a tool of Putin. And it said that, and not only that, there's some great lines in these reports. I mean,
I got it, Greg. And it's like we've fallen through the rabbit hole. And
yes.
I think that's frankly way over the top. And just because, just because my Neo screener just crashed. Just because my computer just got invaded. Just because, I forgot where I was going with that.
Okay. Let me just make another point. Okay. I mean, they can go after Page, and we can say hooray. But they want, the same guys peddling this sludge, Paul the Vulture Singer, use it against Greg Palast. They're using the agencies against Thom Hartmann. This is not good stuff. Where we have a secretive star chamber who's going after citizens, and it is dangerous that the FBI, it is absolutely malfeasance by and misconduct. I absolutely agree with Mel Goodman of the CIA, the whistleblower. It's complete misconduct not to say where this sludge came from. Not only that it was paid for by Clinton, but even more important, that it was paid for by Paul the Vulture Singer, who is known to come up with these complete garbage files. Yeah. And I had to file a libel suit to undo this stuff. But it did have a big effect. They called BBC, who said, we have a file on Greg Palast, the same type of Steele Dossier crap from the same guy. And BBC said, well, we don't care because, Palast has a file on you. But it was
by the same guy. You mean Paul Singer paid for it, or Christopher Steele did it?
Paul Singer was paying for guys like Steele and others to create these garbage files.
Yeah. I'm not naive. I have no doubt. When we were doing the big picture in Portland and we moved it to D.C. and RT picked it up, probably Larry King and I are both in somebody's files because we were on RT. Probably a lot of people who are on Al Jazeera are in those files because hey, it's Muslims and Arabs, and probably anybody on China TV, and for that reason in part, and others, I'm no longer there, and I'm glad of it. But just back doing this, but that. That even that doesn't seem. I'm not outraged by that. I am.
When you say when the FBI and the CIA together issue a statement saying that if you are part of the anti-fracking movement, you are.
Well, we know that's
dangerous, but it's dangerous for another reason. It excuses them surveilling the anti-fracking movement.
No, I got that, and I agree with that, and in fact that. I mean, national security was one of the excuses for going against the Dakota Access Pipeline people. The folks who were standing up to the Trans-Canada Pipeline. And
they were messaging Russia.
Well, not even that. I mean, they didn't even have to mention Russia. They just said, "Oh, those Indians, they hate Americans." I mean, that was the message that was not just all over Fox News and right-wing hate radio, but was actually being peddled by our government. It was the reason that South Dakota or North Dakota, whichever Dakota it was, brought out the National Guard and started, spraying water on unarmed protesters in 20-degree below zero weather. It was a terrible thing, and I agree with you on that. I'm not going to debate you on this, Greg, but I think that your voice is an important voice, and I listen to you when you speak, and. Yeah.
I just want us to be careful, Tom.
Yeah.
Before we start applauding the FBI and applauding the CIA and applauding the FISA court, this secret court, which, for example, one of their subpoenas asked for every phone call ever made by or through the Verizon system.
Yeah.
We got that from Ed Snowden. This secretive police state that we have created doesn't become wonderful because they've gone after a couple of our enemies.
Yeah.
Paul Singer and Steele Dossier should never be used against an American citizen. And the FBI and CIA should have said, this was paid for by Clinton. This was paid for.
But there's a fundamental
Singer,
fallacy in that argument, Greg, and that is the argument that you're making is the argument that the Republicans are trying to make, that Devin Nunes tried to make, which is that the Steele dossier was the reason why the FISA court went after Carter Page. And in fact, the reason why this was not the first time Carter Page had been under surveillance.
Oh, no, don't misunderstand me. I've said that, like, this doesn't taint the Russian investigation by itself. There is absolute misconduct by the CIA and FBI. They should have revealed this information. Does that mean that Carter Page isn't a legitimate target of investigation? That I don't know, because, by the way, we don't know what's in the rest of that file. We don't know what else they lied about. By the way, and they also used the FBI misconduct went to saying, well, the Steele dossier, even if you think it's phony, there are two independent sources, Mother Jones and Huffington Post, which back it up. And it turns out that that was just crud dropped on them by Paul Singer from the Steele file. And they were bootstrapping their own argument. This is misconduct by our own police agencies.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Got it. Yeah,
I'm
wary of it too. Greg Palast, gregpalast.com is the website. Greg, thanks for dropping by today.
You're the best, Tom.
Yeah, well, you're a voice of reason and sanity. I appreciate it. We'll be right back.